Mounting the two rock lights back here is going to be a little bit tricky. That battery sits right here, so if I were to mount them up close to the frame, all that light's going to get blocked by the battery. So I think really the only place I can extend off of is this tube here. So I'll probably build a piece that comes up and then over, and that'll hang those two lights out a little bit further, and that way it can shine back through that entire wheel well. Now on the other side, we pretty much have the exact situation, but now it's the exhaust in the way. So same thing, build a tube off of here, and then those lights are gonna hang out a little bit further, and I might have to create some sort of shield to try to block some of that heat coming off the exhaust, because those lights are just plastic. So like these front lights up here, I'm gonna start by making this tube that comes across, then I can get these plates welded onto them, and then I can figure out how to mount this to the back of the four-wheeler. Late, you guys, but got a decent amount accomplished today. Got both the right side and the left side brackets made. So tomorrow morning, I got to figure out how I'm going to get these attached to that frame. And like I said, probably some sort of tube that comes and hangs off the side. And hopefully I can get that light to clear the exhaust and that battery. But I will see you in the morning. Alrighty, I'm back. So mounting this little bracket I made up here is going to be a little bit tricky. I have this piece of plastic here, so I can't just run a tube straight to the frame, but I'm thinking I can weld a tube onto the frame back here, bring it straight out, and then I can weld another tube straight up off of that, and that should tuck this bracket and those lights as far up into this fender as possible. I just don't want to be able to see them from the outside, so the further up I can get them, the better. Alright, this is what I ended up with. Now it is close to the exhaust, but there is about 6 inches or so to these lights. They're gonna get warm, but I'm hoping they're not gonna get hot enough to the point where they break. We're just gonna have to run it and find out. Here's what it looks like with the plastic, so everything does fit up quite nice. So like I said, if the heat destroys those lights, they're just gonna have to get replaced. Now comes the tricky part. I gotta figure out how to get this bracket on this side and get the dimensions to match that first one I did. I was trying to find a pipe that could connect from here on up, but I really didn't like how I was gonna have some metal tubing crossing all these positive battery leads. So I made the executive decision. I am cutting this off. Probably gonna move this little bus bar down here, and then that way I'll be able to mimic the exact same thing on this side and just take a pipe straight across and do the exact same thing. Might be January, but I do have a Christmas party I need to get to. I got this piece in here, and then when I get back, I'm just gonna make a spacer and go ahead and get this welded in. No idea when I'll be back, but see you then. Made it back from the Christmas party, and I just went ahead and knocked out this side. Figured you already saw me make this side, and it's the exact same thing. Did have to cut off this bus bar mount, but I'm just gonna get that welded right here on the side of the four-wheeler now. want to talk about it. Everybody gets a redemption. So a couple things. I cut the welds out of the back of that bus bar, redid them. They're still not the best, but at least it doesn't look like someone just stuck some bubble gum on there. And then also, you probably saw me heating up these tubes here. If you look at this plastic, you can see that that plastic is cut at an angle here, and then it also is cut out for that seat, but they're both pointed like out. So when I put that plastic on, I welded these bars on perfectly straight, and I was touching the plastic up in here, and I had a lot of room back here because my bar was going straight up and down. So I heated up that little bracket, and I just kind of beat it and bent it, so hopefully that'll match that angle and that angle a little bit better and give me room for all that to fit. Such a small thing, but I do have clearance the whole way behind this tube, and that's not going to be rubbing this plastic anymore. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to mount the relays and control box. There is a little bit of space up in here underneath the plastic, so I'm going to take a look and see if I can't mount everything I need up in there. It's not ideal at all, but I think the best place to mount these relays is going to be kind of along the top right here. It does put those relays a little bit into that wheel well, but I think that's a lot better than trying to tuck everything up in here. It's just going to get way too tight. So in order to mount those relays, I got this tube that's going to get welded onto this other tube here. I just got to make sure I don't cover up that bolt so I can still access that to remove this. And then I'm going to weld this piece of flat stock across the top. And then all these relays, there's going to be, I think, 4 of them. And they're going to sit boom, 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 right across there. Update. The airline was leaking, so I got the end replaced. That was driving me insane. And then I also ran out to the store because I didn't have the bolts I needed to attach the relays. Got the bolts, washers, nuts, all that good stuff, but didn't actually count out how many bolts I had, so I ended up purchasing 2. I need 4. So pretty typical thing for me to do. I'm gonna have to go out shopping later, but we got 2 of them attached here to the frame. I'm gonna get this thing thrown on the 4-wheeler, and proof of concept, this will tell us if it's all gonna fit with that fender on it. All right, so here's how it looks tucked up underneath that fender. Like I said, this isn't the most ideal place I would have wanted to put those relays. They are waterproof, but inside this wheel well is gonna be exposed to all sorts of mud and dirt and probably not good stuff. So we'll put that waterproofness to the test. Now I do like all the clearances of everything, all that's looking good. And then I'm also gonna cut down the end of this bar here. I just don't need that extra length on there, but I wanted to be sure everything fit up before I chopped all that off. I also plan on taking these nuts and capturing every single one of these. That way I just have to run a bolt through the top to tighten down those relays, because using 2 wrenches, that stuff's for the birds. Did I need to fully weld those nuts? No. Are they going anywhere? Don't think so. Those nuts I welded on are just M5 nuts, so the walls of them are pretty thin, so I did melt through a little bit, but I'll be able just to run a tap through that. But for now, I'm gonna take this piece over, and I'm also gonna take this big rack over to the sandblaster and get those cleaned up, because all the fabricating should be done on these pieces, so they need to get ready for paint. So just like when I did that front rack, I only got some of the stuff sandblasted, but this was the most important piece, so I got this done. I'm gonna go ahead and get this painted, and then I'm gonna throw some plastic over the four-wheeler, and I'm gonna paint up all those little rock light mounts and the little bus bar mounts and get all of that painted as well. There you have it, guys. Front rock lights are in, rear rock lights are in. Don't forget, we also got this winch, which isn't wired, which means we got some wiring to do. See you next time.